Gentlemen, female gentlemen, welcome to another lore video here on the Taku channel. Every day we do lore, every single day, all of the days we get lore. And today, as requested by the chat, we did a poll, it was voted for, this is what we're doing, all right? Why Arabs keep losing wars, all right? And a lot of people in chat are gonna be like, oh, they don't know why, all right? Now, my guess is, because after 1,400 years of inbreeding, they have the dumbest populations on the planet, and suspiciously enough, all right, think about it just for a second. You got 10 million Jews, all right, living in the Middle East, all right, 10 million Jews surrounded by 2 billion Arabs. 2 billion Arabs, and they can't win. I'm just saying, I'm just noticing something, all right? 80 IQ guys, 2 billion of them surrounding 10 million guys with an average IQ of like, I don't know, 100 plus. And then, and I'm just noticing 110, right? And I'm noticing that despite the drastic number difference, all right. Anyway, I'm kidding. All right, let's see what the actual historians have to say. Not a retard like me.
Why do Arabs always lose wars against the West?
Fantastic question.
It's an interesting question, but is it?
I mean, to be fair, they are winning. They are winning this one in Europe. And by this one, I mean, a lot of European countries are retarded enough to just let them in for free, infinite of them.
Fair one. Do Arab and Islamic countries routinely lose wars against Western powers?
Yeah.
The answer? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Today we can look at Iran versus Israel. Iran has...
Oh, this is so sad.
90 million people, almost 10 times more than Israel.
Yeah, and Israel took out the entire Iranian leadership and all of their ballistic missiles. That's insane.
And Iran's active army is over 3 times larger, not including its proxies. Yet they haven't been that impressive. Hundreds of missiles do minimal damage. Their allies...
Look, I'm not gonna lie. This was like radicalizing as shit. I was in Israel during the Iran conflict. I was in Israel at the time, and I remember, you know, they're shooting missiles, you know, and everyone runs into their bunkers, and, you know, just in case, and, you know, thank God most of the missiles are just swatted out of the air. But that's crazy. That's insane.
Only escape.
They're not Arab. Well, the Islamic regime is Islamic.
Death by hiding in tunnels, and even then, not successfully. Their dying leaders throw sticks at high-tech Israeli drones and lose their hands to Israeli-made pagers. Arab nations have failed at defeating Israel since the day it became a nation.
Yeah, that's like people talk about like the Crusades, and it's like, yeah, obviously the Crusades were a massive victory against Islam. But the craziest thing is, and I think this is the wildest part, it's the fact that it's the fact that there's 2 billion of them versus 10 million Jews, and they've been trying for 70 years. Oh my God. It's almost like Allah wants them to lose the wars, I would say.
They've also fallen to the Americans, the British, and the French. In fact, the last time an Arab army won a decisive war against the West was the Battle of Hattin, when Saladin defeated the Christian Crusaders and conquered Jerusalem. That was in 1187 AD. So what's going on?
Wait, they haven't won a war since 1187? Oh my fucking God. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh. I'm so sorry for you guys. That's wild. Oh my God, they haven't won a war in 1,000 years. Oh my God.
Hey, I'm Ken LaCourte. I do my best to research elephants in rooms and give you straightforward, sometimes unpopular answers. Here, I dug into the cultural issues that make it hard to win.
That's not true. They've won wars against each other. Shut the fuck up. It doesn't debunk my point, all right? Now you have 2 cultures with equal IQ that are clashing, okay? So that can be different.
In wars. And while I'm not really focusing on economics, those issues certainly affect economies and industrialization as well. I mean, you've probably never seen a car.
That's the worst KD I've ever seen. I can't get over that. I cannot get over that. These people have been warring people for 1,000 years. They haven't won a war.
Car made in an Arab country, or a plane, or a computer, or really anything much besides food and clothing. The harsh truth is that the region is a bit of an industrial wasteland.
Not beating the low IQ debate. That's rough, buddy. That's rough.
For many of the same reasons that cause their military failures. We'll look at fundamental issues such as trust and loyalty in fragmented societies, their tendency towards centralization and rigid hierarchy, some broader cultural issues, and finally a look at how Islam itself may affect it all. It's even...
I know how it affects it all. They all fuck their cousins and produce retards on an industrial scale for 1,400 years. Look, I'm really not trying to be controversial here when I say it, but I'm being frank. I'm being factual, okay? Just think about it. Think about it.
More interesting when we look at history, because it's tempting to look at the Mideast and think that they've always been a bit backwards in so many ways. And that's just dead wrong. The Islamic Golden Age of the 8th century to the 13th century was a powerhouse of scientific and military might.
Yeah.
While Europe stumbled through the Dark Ages, the Arab world was rocking. Muslim doctors were performing advanced surgeries like removing cataracts and treating kidney stones, while Europeans were still using leeches.
Yeah.
And their military was powerful too. They conquered lands from Spain to India, built the world's largest empire.
Remember, this is before the 1400 years of inbreeding. I'm just saying.
And held it for centuries. But empires rise and fall. The Arab world's decline began around the 13th century. Mongol invasions didn't help. The Black Death wiped out big chunks of the population, and political fragmentation weakened once powerful countries. Meanwhile, Europe and the West emerged with the Renaissance and later the Industrial Revolution. And by the 1800s, the tables had turned. Western powers carved up the Middle East, drawing borders that are still causing conflicts today. Now, the region barely contributes at all to the scientific world. They're consumers, not creators.
Yeah.
Some countries sit on oil, and most that don't have much of an economy. But the rich...
It's like God gave them oil to put them on even playing field somewhat. Not trying to be rude here. This is not fair. I don't want to be rude here. I'm just saying, like, just want to be real.
Richer ones have some of the world's largest military budgets. So it's more than about money or intelligence. It's about culture, politics, and societal structures.
I agree. Some cultures are inferior. I agree.
Don't work like they should. But before we jump in, it's good to be cautious about cultural comparisons. It's easy to be like, we're great, they're not.
True! We are. They're not. Facts. Bro spitting. Oh, I forgot. This is the Nux Taku channel. What I meant to say is everything is relative, right? On the Nux Taku channel, we are not controversial. We learn here. We're a lore channel.
And history is littered with leaders who screwed up by misreading other cultures. Hitler thought America was a mongrel country that'd be a pushover.
Hitler was wrong. And Hitler was a gaytheist. Okay? And Hitler killed himself, allegedly.
The United States didn't understand the resilience of the Vietnamese or Afghans and got bogged down in endless wars.
True.
Putin figured Ukraine was a joke run by drug addicts and then got stuck in a meat grinder.
I mean, to be fair, Putin, Ukraine is run by drug addicts. But there are drug addicts, goddammit!
So we need to be careful, but we also can't ignore reality. Now, Arab countries do pretty well with insurgencies and guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, they're really good at that.
T.E. Lawrence.
It's almost like they're very violent people. Another side effect of inbreeding.
Lawrence of Arabia called it winning wars without battles. But when it comes to battles and full warfare, they have problems. And the first part of their culture to look at...
You need 80 IQ in order to be able to do, follow basic orders. Just basic ability to receive and operate and follow orders. Actually, you need, a baseline of at least 80 IQ. So that means, on average, about half of them can't. Or is it 82 IQ? Yeah, maybe. I'm just being real.
Is trust and loyalty. Who are Arabs loyal to? Who are their soldiers really loyal to?
Allah.
Trust and loyalty issues plague Arab armies, hurting their effectiveness from top to bottom. It's a problem that starts with rulers who are afraid of their own military, and it trickles all the way down to soldiers not trusting their officers. For Americans or people in most of the world, their primary loyalty to their country is a given. But it's more complicated in the Mideast. For many, tribal and religious loyalties come first. They're bonds based on shared ancestry,
shared ancestry, you say? How does that happen?
Traditions and support systems that have existed for centuries. Those ties can be much stronger than national identities, which are relatively new in some Arab countries. This often starts at the very top. Rulers stack key military positions with members of their own sect or tribe. In Syria, the Alawite minority controls the military. In Jordan, it's the East Bankers. In Iraq under Saddam, it was the Sunnis. And that tribalism and family ties can lead to the exact opposite of a meritocracy, putting less competent people in critical positions. Because authoritarian leaders fear their armies as much as they rely on them. They know military coups are a real threat. It's how many of them came to power. So they use divide and conquer strategies, create competing units and agencies to keep everyone off.
So you mean to tell me that these guys are actually cucking their own armies because they're afraid to get overthrown, and then they wonder why their armies aren't super competent? That's crazy.
Balance a little bit. Those strategies wreak havoc on efficiency. And paranoia leads to some bizarre practices. In many Arab countries, basic military information, stuff the United States publishes routinely, it's treated like top secrets. Unit designations, names of commanders, even routine promotions and transfers are classified. It's not just about keeping secrets from the enemies, it's about keeping secrets from each other, so that different parts of the military stay in the dark. That culture of mistrust extends beyond their borders, and Arab armies rarely train together or share information. And it trickles right down to the unit level. I mean, if infantry doesn't trust that the artillery will give covering fire, they're not going to advance. This also encourages information hoarding, where knowledge is power. And in Arab military culture, you don't share power. Technicians treat their expertise like closely guarded secrets. It ensures they keep their job, but it also creates information silos where cross-training rarely happens.
That's so weird.
Units might know their specific jobs, but they...
So they literally would keep them in the dark so they don't work together to overthrow the governments. Holy shit. Like, no honor among thieves, I guess.
Can't fill in for each other if someone's hit.
Bro, these guys are garbage.
Fragile system with no depth. One foreign military trainer told a story of carefully creating Arabic manuals for tanks, only to have the officers immediately confiscate them, pretending that the soldiers couldn't read. But that wasn't it. They just didn't want soldiers to have independent sources of knowledge.
Oh my God! They would make sure their soldiers were too retarded to do a coup, and then they'd not successfully be able to win any wars, suspiciously. Oh my God, I had no idea.
Issues help create an over-reliance on centralization and hierarchy as well that defines Arab militaries. Orders come from the top with minimal flexibility. Junior officers don't make decisions, they follow orders. This creates a bizarre situation where a sergeant in the US military often has more real authority than an Arab colonel. Minor decisions get kicked all the way up to the top brass, slowing things to a halt. The class divide between officers and enlisted men is serious, and Arab officers routinely treat their own soldiers like crap. After Iraq's defeat in 1991, prisoners of war showed shocking levels of hatred towards their own officers. A divide between officers and grunts exists in every army, but Western militaries fill that with NCOs, non-commissioned officers, who've risen up through the ranks of the enlisted men. They come from the barracks, not the academy, and they're key trainers to bridge the gap between officers and enlisted men. It's an important link missing in Arab armies, but the issues go far beyond military org charts. Broader issues affect the military as well,
all right,
like the education system. In most
Okay, I don't want to notice. Okay, I don't want to like notice here, but I'm noticing that like 90% of their issues is that they're retarded and stupid. Like, they specifically don't give them information, and they specifically make sure the chain of command is gay, and then they like, you know, they don't educate them, and like I'm just noticing that like 90% of the things that he's talking about so far is just they dumb.
Arab countries, schools prioritize rote memorization instead of critical thinking. Students
Yeah, because they want them to worship a false prophet. It's because they want them to worship a false prophet and they don't want them to ask questions. I'm just saying.
Spend years cramming facts into their heads, then regurgitating them on exams. Questioning the teacher, exploring alternative solutions, that's just not popular.
No way, bro. Stop.
Same attitude comes into the military as well, where conformity rules. Innovation, initiative, no. As one military observer put it, the nail that stands up gets hammered down.
Bro,
officers focus on being seen as
brutal.
Industrious, loyal, and compliant. Rocking the boat is a career killer. This aversion to standing out has serious consequences. In training exercises, junior officers will sometimes deliberately underperform to avoid outshining their bosses. Mistakes are covered up rather than used as learning opportunities.
That's pathetic.
When things go wrong, the default response is to blame equipment, outsiders, or even pretend it didn't happen. Anything.
They have too much pride. No, it was the equipment, of course.
But acknowledging a potential failure.
Oh my
It ties into the high value Arab cultures place on saving face and maintaining honor. I learned this firsthand in Gaza years back, when some of my colleagues were kidnapped and I was sent in to help. We had a number of local guards protecting me and one other colleague, and I went on a security tour of our small hotel. We came to one spot where it was super easy for someone to sneak in, and I was told that there was always a guard stationed there. But there wasn't a guard, and it was a bizarre conversation. I was trying to make sure it wouldn't be left unguarded again,
right?
And they pretended it hadn't happened at all.
Because they didn't want to sound like they fucked up.
Because they weren't accustomed to admitting a problem out loud.
No
In
shot,
warfare,
this is a real
that's
culture.
a recipe for disaster. Progress comes from failure, critiques, and then problem solving. Changing this isn't just about military reforms, though. It would take a fundamental shift in the wider social and religious culture, and that's a tall order. I've left talking about religion until
All right,
the
here
end
we go.
because it's complicated.
I'm ready.
Maybe too complicated to really untangle from a culture.
All right, don't worry, I can explain. They fucked their cousins. All right, I got you.
I mean, Islam is really the defining feature of these countries I'm talking about, and it's fully integrated into their culture and their daily lives. Now, does that come from the text of the Quran? Or does the culture determine how it reacts to the faith?
No.
I find it best to visualize religion and culture as threads in an intertwined rope. After 1,400 years of coexistence, it's impossible to really separate them. Even the concept of fatalism is thought to be enmeshed in Islam. The phrase, inshallah, if God wills it, that can breed a sense of resignation, a why bother attitude that's the opposite of taking charge and getting things done. But it's also used by...
Bro, they've been suicide bombing for 1,400 years. I'm not trying to be rude here, and not every Muslim does this kind of thing. I'm just noticing that over the last 1,400 years, the idea of dying for your God to kill the infidel is viewed as a noble thing. All right, and and the reward for that is infinite sex with children in heaven. All right, I'm being real here. I'm not trying to be controversial. Like, that is literally the reward. The reward for blowing yourself up to kill some infidels is infinite sex with children in heaven. All right, are we on the same page? All right, so essentially, inshallah, it's a pretty diabolical culture in certain regards.
Non-religious Arabs, and it really predates Islam. I was in Iraq for a bit during the Second Gulf War, and I talked to a young American soldier who was training Iraqis to take over. He said that time and time again, their soldiers would literally hold their rifles above their head to shoot. Their belief was that God would guide those bullets.
You mean to tell me that they keep losing wars, but they're just shooting their bullets into the sky? Fascinating.
So it really didn't matter if they aimed their guns at all. True. That's not great soldiering. The last point
No,
about...
it's a great idea, guys. Keep doing it. It's working. It's going to keep... One of these days, it's going to be great.
Religion is to look at the more westernized concept of separating church and state. Along with systems of checks and balances within governments, it helps create an environment where different institutions can challenge each other. And where regular people...
Right. I love that this dude is trying to make believe that separation of church and state is important because of this. No, you just need your religion to not be... What's the nice way to say this? Not like that. All right? I'm just being real here. Not all religions are the same. Okay? Let's just be frank for a second. All right? I don't know a single Jew or Christian soldier in either the Israeli army, the American army, that shoots their guns into the sky and says God will guide the bullets. Because, a pretty fundamental idea in the Bible is that you have free will. All right? God gives you the ability to choose. Sure, God should help you, but just shooting your bullets into the sky and saying God will guide the bullets, that's for 80 IQ goat fuckers that live somewhere else on the planet, okay? That's not what we do. God helps those that help themselves, you know what I'm saying?
People can challenge those in charge. That's how social progress happens. But when a single authority controls both religious and political power, it can be difficult, sometimes impossible, to challenge those norms and the powers that run the place.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think it's a matter of church and state. I think it depends on what the church is. And if this church specifically, has a very different code than, let's say, our church here in America, then, I think that'll cause the difference. I don't even think it's a separation of church and state. I just think their religion is different than ours.
That stagnates growth, and it stagnates the improvement of a civilization. And as we've seen time after time, civilizations that have their acts together are a lot more likely to win wars. That came into play in World War II, where on so many levels, Germany was an industrious, advanced society. But it also had fatal flaws. To understand how both of those could be true, I read a fascinating book called Ordinary Men, which looked at one battalion of regular guys who were transformed into the worst mass murderers you could imagine. I turned it into this video that raises the question, would you and I have become good Nazis?
All right, well, maybe in the next one. But yeah, anywho, for this one, yeah, thanks so much for being here. I enjoyed. I hope you did. This is another lore dive. Honestly, I really appreciate that that I'm able to do this and that you guys are along with me on the ride. Here on the Nux Taku channel, every day we do new lore, and it increases my information to be a radical asshole on the Nuxanor channel. In my opinion, it's an incredibly potent combination of I learn about retards on this channel, and then I make fun of the retards on the other channel. It really is, you know, I thank God for giving me the ability to make fun of retards effectively. And thank you for being here. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one. Definitely subscribe. Why do Arabs keep losing wards? They dumb. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.